Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General Alvin, I want to read to you a quote from the Executive Vice President of the Air Force Association. He said the following: under this budget, the Air Force, already the oldest and smallest in its history, would see its total aircraft inventory fall below 5,000 for the first time ever. And indeed, when I looked at the chart on aircraft inventory, the projection is 4,903 aircraft. China, on the other hand, is increasing the size of its fleet of aircraft. Are we at the point where we are risking an Air Force that is too small to accomplish the missions that it is assigned?
Senator, I believe that the most important thing that we should be focused on is having the right capability. Of course, we're all restricted by the budgets within which we work. However, our focus is to ensure that by just having a quantity, we have the right quality to be able to ensure the survivability and the ability to compete in a highly contested environment. So we are focused on getting the maximum capacity that we can of the most capable platforms and systems, because it's gone beyond just counting aircraft. It is the entire kill chain, the ability to have the battle management, to have the situational awareness, which is increasingly we're going to rely on my brother from space here to ensure that we do. So it's really not just platforms, it's a capable system of systems that will ensure that we can endure.
As I listened to you, I remember an admiral saying to me in my very first year in the Senate that quantity has a quality all of its own. I mean, there becomes a point when I look at the 5-year plan of the Air Force, when you're seeking to divest more than 1,000 aircraft while procuring fewer than 1 aircraft for every 2 jets that are being retired. And when I look at the situation in Ukraine, it seems clear to me that not only is quality obviously extremely important and capability, but quantity matters also, particularly when we're facing as many threats in such diverse places as we are.
Senator, I would agree with you, and I would say that quantity does matter, but we want every one of that quantity to be survivable, because if we have a large quantity but they have a reduced chance of survival, then we're actually putting more airmen in harm's way and at higher risk if we can't have them survive and be able to actually prevail. And so we do look at that capability and capacity, but we certainly don't want, because our airmen will go fight. We want to deter, but when asked, we'll fight in whatever cockpits we have. And so we want to ensure that when we're providing that mass is actually survivable and can endure.
I just want to make sure you have enough of those cockpits. For each of our witnesses, but starting with the Secretary, please describe to the committee the area or capability where you feel you are incurring the most risk given the top-line constraints.
As I mentioned in my opening statement, my greatest concern is time and the pace of modernization. China is, and I've been watching China closely since 2010, they have modernized in a way which is intended to take advantage of what they see as our vulnerabilities. And so they are attacking things like our airfields, our carriers, our satellites that we rely upon in relatively small numbers. They're also modernizing in the air domain and in the counter space domain very effectively in general. And they are fielding quantities. We do have to respond to the quantities, as you mentioned. Unfortunately, holding on to increasingly aging and expensive to maintain and less cost-effective assets really doesn't help us with that equation. So when I look at the risk equation, I think we're in a situation where in the near term, the immediate term, we are at an acceptable level of risk, and we have to emphasize getting to the next round of the next generation, if you will, of capabilities. As General Saltzman mentioned, we have got to have a transformative set of space capabilities. We need to get to that. In the air domain, we need to get to the next generation, particularly the uncrewed collaborative combat aircraft that General Alvin mentioned. We have a cost problem with the aircraft that we're buying now. Our fighters are very expensive. The F-35 and the F-15EX cost about $100 million each. NGAD will cost over $300 million, and will be bought in small numbers. The uncrewed collaborative combat aircraft give us an opportunity to address the cost and the quantity issues with relatively inexpensive but very highly cost-effective platforms that we add to the fleet. So getting on with the next generation capabilities is by far my highest priority right now. The risk is increasing over time, and if we focus on the risk today at the expense of that higher levels of risk we're going to see as China continues to modernize, we're going to be in a very untractable position within just a few years.
Thank you. I'll ask the other two to respond for the record. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.